Captain Elias Carter's shuttle descended slowly through the pink and gold clouds of Violia. From above, the planet looked like a living jewel, rivers of light twisting through towering crystal spires. Floating cities hovered in the air, connected by bridges that shimmered with colors he could not name. Humans had seen pictures, even simulations, but nothing could prepare him for the scale and beauty of this world. He tightened his hands on the control panel as the shuttle docked at the embassy platform. This mission was more than a diplomatic visit. It was the first time humans would meet the Viorlian royal family face to face. His heart beat faster, not with fear of danger, but with the weight of responsibility. The lives of millions of humans and Viorlians depended on how well he could navigate the delicate rituals of this alien court. The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss. Elias stepped onto the platform, greeted by the faint, sweet scent that hung in the air, something like jasmine mixed with ozone. He had heard the Viorlians were highly sensitive to smell and subtle movements. Every step he took would be watched, analyzed, and judged. "Welcome, Captain Carter," a voice said, smooth and melodic. Elias turned to see a Viorlian aide, tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered in shades of silver and blue. Their eyes were large and dark, reflecting the sky above. "The Empress awaits your presence. She has requested your immediate audience." The aide led him through the embassy, a massive structure of glowing crystal and flowing water. Elias noticed that every surface seemed alive, pulsing gently as if breathing. He felt a strange connection, like the building itself recognized him. Finally, they reached a large hall, and there, standing before him, was Princess Lyra. Her presence was commanding yet gentle, and her eyes, violet and deep, seemed to look straight into his soul. She smiled lightly, almost teasingly, as if she had been expecting him all along. "Captain Carter," she said, her voice like wind chimes, "welcome to Violia." Humans were not used to such formalities, but he knew this would earn respect. Lyra studied him for a long moment. "I hope your journey was not too difficult. The air here can be unusual for humans. We value curiosity here as much as wisdom." The Empress entered then, moving with grace that seemed almost liquid. Her skin glimmered like polished moonstone, and her eyes held the depth of centuries. Elias bowed deeply, feeling the weight of history in her gaze. "Captain Carter," she said, her voice soft but commanding, "you come as the representative of your species. Tell me, what do humans offer us beyond curiosity and courage?" "Very well, you shall have your chance to prove these words. The court will observe your actions closely. Remember, a single mistake could undo what you hope to build." He was led to the gardens, a place of floating walkways and glowing plants that shifted colors with every step. Here, he met several Viorlian council members, beings of extraordinary intelligence and poise. They studied him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Every gesture he made, every word he spoke was noted. During a brief pause, a council member leaned slightly toward Elias and whispered, "Observe their customs. Offer respect without hesitation. The wrong move will be remembered." As the sun of Violia dipped below the horizon, the gardens glowed with soft luminescence. Elias noticed Princess Lyra watching him closely. "You seem to understand our ways better than most," she said, "but can you maintain it under pressure? The other half is courage, the courage to act rightly even when unsure." Suddenly an alarm echoed through the gardens, a sound both beautiful and terrifying, like crystal shattering in slow motion. The council members stiffened, and the Empress's expression hardened. "What is it?" Elias asked, ready to respond. "A minor disturbance in the outer sector," Lyra said. "It seems a group opposed to your presence seeks to test us, and you." "Then let me help. Humans are not only thinkers, we can act decisively when needed." Using only his human intuition and quick thinking, he identified their movements, predicting their path before they acted. He signaled Lyra, who communicated with subtle gestures that the intruders could not read. Together, they guided the disruptors away, ensuring that no harm came to anyone. The council watched, their skepticism slowly replaced with admiration. Humans, they realized, could act decisively without resorting to brutality, a rare trait among outsiders. After the disturbance was resolved, Lyra approached him. "You are remarkable, Captain Carter," she said quietly. "Not only for your skill, but for your restraint. Humans are often loud, aggressive. You are different." Sometimes right is harder than easy. For the first time, he believed that humanity might not just survive among the stars, they could thrive. As night fell over the floating cities, Elias stood on the observation deck, watching the luminescent towers drift in the gentle winds. Princess Lyra joined him, her presence a quiet comfort. "Tomorrow you will meet the Empress again," she said. "And perhaps more of your kind will understand why we watch so closely. You are not the first human here, but you may be the first to truly understand us. True trust comes later, through courage, wisdom, and compassion, all of which you have shown today." But as he looked at the alien princess, he realized something profound. Humanity had something unique to offer this galaxy, something that no technology or weapon could replace. It was their heart, their courage, and their willingness to stand for what was right. And in that moment he vowed that whatever trials came, humans would not falter. They would rise to meet them, not as conquerors, but as partners, as equals, and perhaps as something more. The stars above Violia shimmered, reflecting the light of countless cities, countless lives, and countless possibilities. And Captain Elias Carter, human ambassador and pioneer, took a deep breath and stepped forward into the future, ready to prove that humanity could shine even among the stars. The morning sun of Violia cast soft amber light over the floating city. Captain Elias Carter stood on the observation deck, taking in the shimmering towers and the gentle currents that carried the floating platforms. Today was different. Today he would learn more about the people he had come to represent. He would learn about them from the princess herself. Princess Lyra arrived quietly, as if she had appeared from the wind. She moved with grace, her violet eyes reflecting the sun's light. "Good morning, Captain Carter," she said, her voice like soft music. "I trust you rested well. The air here is different, but it has a calming quality." Birds or creatures that resembled them glided through the air, leaving trails of soft light behind. Every detail of the world felt alive, as if the planet itself were a sentient being observing them. "You humans are very different from us," Lyra said. "You act with haste, yet you think deeply. You rush, yet your curiosity is endless. I find it intriguing. We are not always so patient, I admit, but I try to learn quickly, especially when the stakes are so high. Some wish to test your patience and wisdom." He had spent years preparing for this moment, studying alien cultures, languages, and etiquette. Yet nothing had prepared him for the subtlety of Violian emotions, their unspoken communications, and the weight of centuries-old traditions. A sudden sound broke the calm. A crystal chime echoed through the terrace. Lyra's expression shifted to alertness. "The council calls for you," she said. "It is time for your first formal meeting. Remember what I told you: observe, listen, and act with care. I come as a representative of humanity, seeking understanding, friendship, and cooperation. I will learn your customs, your philosophy, and your needs. I will act according to what is right, not what is convenient, and I will listen, always listen, to your guidance." They asked riddles of morality, scenarios where choices were not simple, and situations where cultural traditions conflicted with logic. Elias answered carefully, relying on both his human intuition and the lessons he had learned from Lyra. Hours passed, and Elias felt both exhausted and exhilarated. Every decision, every gesture had been observed. Yet slowly he sensed a shift. The council began to nod subtly, acknowledging his insight even if they did not speak it aloud. After the meeting, Lyra led him back to the terrace. "You have done well," she said. "Few outsiders understand the depth of our ways so quickly. Humans can learn, but it is rare for us to see beyond ourselves without help." Elias marveled at how responsive the environment was to emotion, realizing that Violia itself was an extension of its people's sensitivity. "You humans rely on technology," Lyra said thoughtfully. "You build machines, explore stars, yet your emotions can guide your actions more than your tools. That is something we admire and sometimes envy. We have much to learn from you as well, but perhaps that is the essence of partnership, to share what each has to grow together." They looked at Elias curiously. "Are you the human?" they asked in a melodic voice. "Yes," Elias replied gently. "I am." Trust was indeed fragile here, yet even small gestures could make a difference. A smile, an honest answer, a display of courage, these were powerful tools. Later, as evening fell, Lyra brought him to a quiet hall where the Empress often meditated. "Tomorrow," she said, "you will see her again, and perhaps you will understand why your words today mattered. She will test your heart, not just your mind. Humans often speak too quickly or act without care. But you are different. That may be why your presence here is already making a difference." Ilias felt a sense of wonder, not just at the beauty, but at the potential of what humans and Virelians could accomplish together. "Do you believe in love between different species?" Lyra asked suddenly, her voice soft. Ilias hesitated, then nodded. "I believe in understanding, respect, and connection. If love grows from those, then yes, I believe it can exist." Words are easy, but humans often act on emotion. Can you balance it with reason when the consequences are great? He felt both awe and determination. The road ahead would be difficult. There would be tests of wisdom, courage, and patience. There would be political intrigue, cultural challenges, and personal trials. Yet he felt ready. Humanity had something unique to offer, something beyond technology or strategy. It was the combination of heart, mind, and spirit. The ability to act rightly even when unsure, to connect across worlds, and to show courage without arrogance. Ilias knew this journey was only beginning. Tomorrow, he would face the Empress once more. He would be tested in ways he could not yet imagine. But he would stand firm, not just for himself, but for humanity and for the fragile trust between two very different civilizations. He turned to see Lyra standing at the edge of the deck, watching him. She offered a small, reassuring smile. "Rest well tonight," she said. "Tomorrow the true test begins, and remember, you do not walk alone. You have allies here if you choose to see them." Below, the city pulsed with gentle light, alive and vigilant. Ilias felt a sense of calm determination. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe. There would be challenges, but there would also be hope, courage, and connection. And in that hope, Ilias found strength. As he finally rested, he understood a simple truth. True understanding, whether between humans or between species, required patience, empathy, and the courage to act rightly even when uncertain. He would need all of these in the days to come. And he would prove, not just to the Virelians, but to himself, that humanity could rise to meet any challenge, with both heart and mind. The morning mist hung over the floating city, soft and glowing with the light of Virelia's twin suns. Captain Ilias Carter stood at the entrance of the Grand Palace, the nerves he had tried to suppress now buzzing in his chest. Today was the day he would meet the Empress again, alone, face to face. Every human instinct told him to prepare for a negotiation or a political test, yet deep down, he knew this meeting would challenge more than his mind. It would test his heart. Princess Lyra met him at the entrance, her violet eyes calm but piercing. "The Empress awaits you," she said, her tone gentle, yet carrying a weight of warning. "Remember what I taught you, speak truth but also feel truth. That is what she sees most clearly." The walls were made of translucent crystal, revealing layers of the city outside. Light poured through the surfaces, creating patterns that shifted like liquid fire across the floor. At the far end, seated upon a throne that seemed carved from living crystal, was the Empress. She radiated presence, her gaze sharp yet not unkind. "Captain Carter," she said, her voice both commanding and soft, "you have spent time among my people. You have observed, you have listened, and you have acted. But that is not enough. Actions, intentions, and emotions are more telling. I do not ask for flattery, I ask for truth. Tell me, do you love my daughter?" Ilias swallowed hard, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon him. I do," he said after a pause. The words were simple, but he spoke them with all the sincerity he could muster. "I care for her deeply, and I respect her as a person and as a leader." She looked down, and for the first time, Ilias saw tears welling in her eyes. "Humans are honest in ways I had not expected," she whispered, almost to herself. "I have seen deception in countless forms, and yet here is truth spoken without hesitation, without disguise. I hope to prove, not through words alone, that humans can act with honor, empathy, and courage. Can you walk beside her when the trials come?" Ilias realized that the test she posed was not one of physical endurance or intelligence. It was a test of character. "You are brave," she said finally. "Bravery is simple when facing no danger. True bravery is standing for what is right, even when uncertain. Tell me, Captain Carter, when faced with choices that could harm either humans or Virelians, which path will you choose?" "I will act for what is fair, not for what is easy or convenient. That is all I ask to offer." This was more than recognition. It was a validation of humanity's essence. The qualities he had always believed set them apart in the galaxy: courage, moral sense, and the ability to rise to challenges not through force, but through understanding and integrity. The Empress paused before a balcony overlooking the floating city. "Do you see what your words and actions can inspire?" she asked. "Humans walk among us as strangers. Yet, through sincerity, they can build trust, not just with individuals, but with entire civilizations. Can your species handle that responsibility? And I believe we can, when we act rightly and with understanding. And for that I weep, not for sorrow, but for hope. Perhaps humanity is worthy of more than I dared to believe. You must understand the depth of our ways, our responsibilities, and our emotions. Only then can your bond with my daughter hold true meaning. Elias realized the depth of their culture was far beyond human memory or documentation. It was living, breathing, and constantly evolving. You humans are quick learners, the Empress said, noting his observations. You see patterns where others only see chaos. You understand emotion even when expressed differently from your own. That is why I did not dismiss you outright. I wanted to see if your species could rise to a higher standard, and you have shown it. As they approached a quiet garden within the palace, Lyra joined them, appearing almost silently at his side. She watched her mother with a mixture of reverence and relief. The Empress looked at her daughter, then at Elias. Captain Carter has been tested, she said softly. He has spoken truth, acted with care, and shown courage. That is all I asked. I have wept for joy, knowing that there may be one among humans capable of understanding the depth of what we hold dear. Perhaps now my people can see what I see, a human capable of honor, wisdom, and courage. They had empathy, courage, and moral integrity. The Empress gestured for him to stay in the garden. You will face more tests, challenges, and trials, but remember this moment, Captain Carter. You have shown that human hearts can hold truth and strength even among the most advanced and cautious civilizations. That is something rare, and it is something precious. You may rest now, she said, but remember this is only the beginning. Love, loyalty, and courage will be tested, not in grand battles alone, but in subtle choices, quiet actions, and moments of truth. Together we can face whatever comes. And for the first time, Elias Carter believed, not just for himself but for all of humanity, that they could rise to meet that challenge. That humans could shine among the stars, not as conquerors, but as beings of integrity, empathy, and honor. The twin suns of Violia dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the floating city. Elias looked at the horizon, at the delicate balance of light, shadow, and color, and he understood something essential. Humanity had taken its first true steps into a larger world, not merely as observers or explorers, but as partners capable of understanding, courage, and love. And with that understanding, he knew the real journey was only beginning. The city of Violia shimmered under the light of its twin suns, casting gold and silver across the floating towers. Captain Elias Carter stood on the observation deck, the breeze carrying the faint scent of bioluminescent flora. Today's meeting with the Empress had left him with a quiet sense of accomplishment, but he knew that peace was fragile. Trust had been earned, yes, but it could be broken with the smallest misstep. Princess Lyra joined him, her expression calm but alert. There is unrest, she said softly. Not everyone in the council agrees with the acceptance of humans. Some see your presence as a threat, a challenge to tradition. They may act to test us or to force a confrontation. Subtlety is your greatest tool, and humans are not always subtle. Some watched him with curiosity, others with suspicion, their expressions unreadable to all but the most careful observer. Captain Carter, one counselor said, their voice like soft wind over stone, you have passed our preliminary assessments, but peace is tested not by calm moments but by trials. There are factions among us who do not accept human presence. What will you do if they attempt to undermine our cooperation? Some counselors exchanged subtle glances, their glowing eyes narrowing in thought. Elias knew they were testing him, not for intelligence but for character. How would a human respond under pressure? Could he navigate the politics of a society that had thrived for millennia? Before anyone could speak further, a crystal chime sounded through the chamber, sharp and urgent. The floor beneath them trembled slightly. Lyra's expression darkened. That is a warning, she said. A faction has attempted to enter the palace without permission. They seek to provoke chaos and discredit you and your people. I will guide you through the paths known only to the royal family. There is no danger if we move wisely. They reached a platform overlooking the outer garden, where several cloaked figures moved with stealth and purpose. Observe, Lyra whispered. They are armed with devices meant to disrupt our communications and sensors. Their aim is to make you look unprepared. If we predict their path, he said, we can guide them away without confrontation. Subtle redirection is often more powerful than direct action. The intruders were guided along a circuitous path that led them away from sensitive areas. At every step, Elias maintained calm, his mind analyzing probabilities and possible outcomes. The plan relied not on force, but on strategy, timing, and precision. The intruders realized too late that their path had been manipulated. They were intercepted by palace security, but no one was harmed and the palace remained calm. The council members who had been observing from above whispered among themselves, their expressions betraying surprise and reluctant respect. "You have done well," Lyra said quietly as they watched the intruders escorted away. "Most outsiders would have either panicked or acted rashly. Your strategy protected everyone without escalating violence." The council reconvened, their earlier skepticism tempered by what they had witnessed. One councilor spoke, their voice carrying a mixture of admiration and caution. "Captain Carter, you have proven not only intelligence but understanding and restraint. Humans may yet have a place among us, though the path remains delicate. I will continue to act with care, understanding, and integrity for both our peoples. Yet you have shown that humanity can act with courage, empathy, and insight. That is rare indeed. You will face choices where morality, loyalty, and wisdom are all in conflict. How you act will determine not just your place here, but the future of humans among the stars. That is the path to true partnership." The twin sons of Violia were low, casting long shadows across the floating towers. The city below shimmered like a field of stars. "You humans think quickly," Lyra said, breaking the silence. "You can see patterns and react in ways others do not expect. That is a strength, but it can also be a danger. Some will resent it or fear it. Then I will continue to act with care and integrity. Strength is not in fear or domination. It is in reason, empathy, and courage." Elias looked around, his senses alert. "Another warning?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, this is a signal from the outer city. It is routine, but it reminds us that vigilance is never optional. The world is alive, and we must be aware of its currents." He understood now that life on Violia was a constant test, not just of intelligence or skill, but of patience, observation, and moral courage. Humans had survived through adaptability, innovation, and empathy. Here, those same qualities would define whether they could thrive in a world so different from their own. The night deepened, and the city lights reflected in the glassy waters below. Elias and Lyra stood together, not speaking, but understanding each other through presence and shared purpose. The city pulsed with life, a living reminder that civilizations, whether human or Violian, were sustained not only by technology or power, but by careful, considered action guided by empathy and courage. "This is only the beginning," Elias said finally. "There will be more challenges, more tests, more uncertainty, but I am ready. Humanity is ready." He had shown that humans could act with insight, courage, and restraint. But the greater tests lay ahead, political intrigue, cultural tensions, and personal challenges that would demand every ounce of human ingenuity and moral strength. Yet for the first time, he did not fear them. Humans had survived countless trials on their own world. They had adapted, learned, and risen to meet every challenge. And now, among the stars, they would do the same. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, leaving the floating city bathed in soft silver light. Elias gazed at the towers, the bridges, and the glowing gardens below. Each shimmer of light, each movement of the city was a reminder of what was at stake and what could be achieved. He turned to Lyra, taking her hand in his. "We will face whatever comes together," he said. "Yes," she replied, her voice calm but firm, "together." That was what made them capable of bridging worlds, and that was what would define their place among the stars. The first light of Violia's twin suns spilled across the floating city, casting long shadows over the crystal towers. Captain Elias Carter stood at the edge of the observation deck, feeling the familiar hum of energy that pulsed through the city. He had learned much in the past days, about Violia, its people, and most of all, about the subtle strength required to navigate a civilization so advanced yet so sensitive. Princess Lyra joined him quietly, her violet eyes calm yet alive with anticipation. "Today," she said softly, "the Council will vote on whether humans may remain as permanent partners. This is the culmination of all that has passed. Your actions, your words, and your presence will be weighed by every Council member, not as an observer, but as a participant in their future. The Council awaits." "Captain Carter," one counselor began, You have lived among us, observed our ways, and faced challenges that many would falter at. Yet questions remain. Can humans act with foresight, patience, and honor even when our trust is tested? Will they remain steadfast, or will their impulsiveness bring chaos? Humans can be many things, sometimes flawed, sometimes impulsive, but we also possess courage, insight, and empathy. We learn quickly and we act with purpose when it matters. Today I stand as an example, but I speak for the potential of all my people. We seek to be partners, to learn, to share, and to rise to challenges together, not to dominate or disrupt. How do we know your intentions are not swayed by personal gain, fear, or pride? That is what humanity offers: the ability to think, to feel, and to choose rightly, even when the consequences are uncertain. The Empress entered then, her presence commanding attention without force. She moved to the center of the chamber, her eyes sweeping over the council and Elias alike. "You have seen the human," she said softly, her voice carrying across the crystal hall. "You have watched him act, speak, and reason, and yet the final choice rests with you. Will you accept humanity as a partner, not merely for convenience or survival, but for mutual respect, trust, and cooperation? Do you still walk in honesty and courage, knowing the weight of your words and deeds? Then we shall see if our trust is justified." Each council member weighed not just his actions, but his demeanor, his responses to challenges, and the sincerity of his words. Finally, the Empress raised her hand, signaling the decision. "The council has spoken," she announced. "Humanity is accepted as a partner to learn from us, to teach us, and to walk alongside us in trust. Captain Carter has proven that one human, through courage, integrity, and insight, can embody the best qualities of his species. May this decision mark the beginning of a new era of understanding and alliance." It was subtle yet powerful. Humanity had not only survived its first trials, but had earned respect. Lyra stepped forward, her hand reaching for Elia's S. "You did it," she said softly, "not through force, but through heart and mind. You have shown what I have long believed. Humans can rise to greatness not by conquering, but by choosing to act rightly. Humans and Violians, learning from each other, respecting each other, and moving forward together. You have shown that humanity's heart and mind can rise to meet challenges of culture, diplomacy, and trust. That is the rarest gift of all. Then let the celebration begin, not only of your success, but of the union of our peoples. Let this moment be remembered as the day when understanding triumphed over fear and courage over uncertainty." Representatives from both human and Violian communities gathered, exchanging greetings and gestures of goodwill. Music filled the air, a soft harmony that resonated through the city's energy. Elias and Lyra moved among the crowds, witnessing moments of connection, curiosity, and mutual respect. Humans marveled at the technology and culture of Violia, while Violians observed the resilience, empathy, and ingenuity of humans. It was a celebration not of victory or dominance, but of partnership. Amid the festivities, Lyra leaned close to Elias. "Do you realize what this means?" she asked. "Your people now have a place here, not as observers, not as intruders, but as allies." And it all began with courage, honesty, and the willingness to understand. And perhaps one day, our children will inherit a galaxy where trust, courage, and empathy define relationships, not fear or conquest. Not through force, not through fear, but through the quiet strength of heart and mind, through courage tempered by empathy, and through the unwavering choice to act rightly even under scrutiny. The Empress approached once more, her expression serene. "Captain Carter, you have proven what I hoped humans could be. I wept when you spoke the truth of your heart, not in sorrow, but in hope. That hope has been fulfilled. May it guide your people and our peoples toward a future of partnership and understanding." "The first steps have been taken," she said. "Now we must continue forward, learning, teaching, and standing together. The galaxy is vast, but with courage, empathy, and understanding, we can rise to meet it." He had not only earned trust and respect, he had proven that humanity, even as outsiders in a vast and ancient civilization, could act with wisdom, courage, and integrity. That was the essence of what it meant to be human, resilient, empathetic, and endlessly capable of growth. The twin suns of Violia dipped below the horizon, casting the city in soft silver light. The floating towers glowed gently, reflecting the joy, hope, and possibility that now filled the air. Elias stood beside Lyra, hand in hand, gazing at the city that would now welcome humans not as strangers, but as allies, partners, and friends. In that quiet moment, he understood the truth of his journey. Humanity's place among the stars was not determined by power or weapons, but by courage, empathy, integrity, and the willingness to act rightly even when faced with uncertainty. That was their strength. That was their future. And as the stars began to shine above the glowing city, Elias Carter knew that humans would rise, not just to survive among the stars, but to shine as examples of heart, mind, and unwavering courage. Violia had become a home for trust, understanding, and partnership, and humanity had earned its place.